I still remember the exact moment I broadcast my wife's betrayal to her entire family. The gasp of her mother through the phone, the stunned silence from her sister, the rage in her father's voice. But to understand that moment of perfect revenge, you need to understand the lie that came before it. Melissa and I met 14 years ago at a 4th of July barbecue. She wore a yellow sundress that made her skin glow, and when she laughed at my terrible joke about the overcooked burgers, I knew I was done for. That laugh, God, that laugh could light up a stadium. We were opposites in the best way. She was spontaneous where I was methodical, social where I was reserved, artistic where I was practical. We balanced each other perfectly, or so I thought. The early years were everything a marriage should be. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market. Her hand in mine as we picked out tomatoes she'd never actually cook. Sunday dinners with her family, where her dad and I would escape to watch the game while the women gossiped in the kitchen. I worked my way up in construction management, proud that my salary meant she could quit her receptionist job and focus on her art. I thought I was building something permanent, laying foundation as carefully as I'd oversee a construction site. The changes started small, like hairline cracks in concrete. Her friend Sarah got divorced last spring, and suddenly Melissa couldn't stop talking about her. Sarah says marriage changes people. She'd mention casually over dinner. Sarah thinks couples need separate interests. She'd add with a thoughtful expression, Sarah this, Sarah that. The girls' nights started weekly, then became twice weekly. Shopping trips that used to take 2 hours stretched to 5. I noticed the new lingerie first. A black lace set I'd never seen before, tucked in the hay, back of her drawer when I was putting away laundry. When I asked about it, she said she'd bought it months ago, wanted to surprise me but forgot. The surprise never came. Her phone, which used to lie carelessly around the house, now lived face down, never leaving her side. She'd jump slightly when it buzzed, quickly checking it with a small smile that wasn't meant for me. The makeup routine that used to be reserved for date nights became standard for errands. She'd spend 40 minutes getting ready to go to Target, emerging looking like she was headed to a cocktail party. "I just want to feel good about myself," she'd say when I commented. "Is that so wrong?" 3 months ago, she came home from shopping with Sarah empty-handed. When I asked about it, she laughed, but not her real laugh, the nervous one she used when lying about eating the last piece of cake. "We just browsed," she replied quickly. "Nothing caught my eye." Her credit card statement showed no charges. Her car had gained 60 miles. Sarah lived 10 miles away. I wanted to trust her. Christ, I wanted to trust her more than I wanted to breathe. This was the woman who'd held my hand through my father's funeral, who'd spent 3 days sleeping in a hospital chair when I had my appendix out. But instinct is a powerful thing, and mine was screaming that something was very, very wrong. That night, as she slept beside me, her phone charging on the nightstand between us, I made a decision that would either save our marriage or destroy it completely. I was going to find out the truth, no matter what it cost me. The investigation started with our Verizon bill. I'd always paid it without looking. Melissa handled the small bills while I managed the mortgage and utilities. But that Tuesday morning, while she was in the shower, I logged into our account. The call logs told a story she'd never shared. A number appeared repeatedly, sometimes 5, 6 times a day. Text messages by the dozens. The number wasn't saved in her phone under any name I recognized. I became someone I didn't recognize, a detective in my own home. While Melissa painted in her studio, I checked the mileage on her Honda CR-V, jotting down the numbers in a small notebook I kept hidden in my toolbox. The patterns emerged quickly. Every girls' night added exactly 47 miles. Every shopping trip was 38 miles. The addresses these distances suggested weren't Sarah's house or any mall I knew. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy, kissing her goodbye each morning, asking about her day each evening, making love to her while wondering whose touch she was really thinking about. I'd catch myself staring at her during dinner, searching for the woman I married in the face of, this stranger who wore her skin. A reverse phone lookup gave me a name, Thomas Grayson. LinkedIn provided the rest. Divorced accountant, worked downtown, lived in Fairfield Heights. His Facebook was mostly private, but his profile picture showed a handsome man in his early 40s, salt and pepper beard, the kind of confident smile that probably worked well on lonely married women. 3 weeks into my investigation, I followed her. I'm not proud of it, but I needed to know. I told my foreman I had a dental appointment and left work early. Melissa's car was already gone when I drove past our house. I found it 20 minutes later, parked outside a modest 2-story house in Fairfield Heights, 38 miles from our home, exactly as the odometer had predicted. I parked 3 houses down, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. The front door opened before she knocked. Thomas appeared, taller than his photos suggested, wearing jeans and a t-shirt like he'd taken the day off, too. The kiss wasn't a friendly peck. It was hungry, familiar, practiced. His hand tangled in her hair the same way mine used to. They disappeared inside, and I sat in my truck feeling like I'd been gutted with a rusty knife. But the construction manager in me kicked in. Emotion was for later, now was for documentation. I photographed his house, his address, his license plate. I noted the time she arrived, 2:17 p.m. When she left at 5:43 p.m., her hair was different, her makeup reapplied but smudged at the corner of her eye. She looked satisfied in a way that made me want to vomit. I drove home via a longer route, arriving after her. She was in the kitchen, humming while she cooked dinner, my favorite chicken parmesan. "How was work?" she asked cheerfully, kissing my cheek. I could smell him on her. A cologne I didn't recognize. Something expensive and woody. "Same as always," I lied, matching her deception with my own. "How was your day?" "Oh, boring," she replied with practiced ease. "Ran some errands? Worked on a painting. Sarah called. She might have a date this weekend." The lies flowed so easily from her lips. I recorded everything in my notebook that night. Dates, times, locations, her cover stories. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a single mistake. This was calculated, repeated, routine. She'd turned betrayal into a schedule. I had the proof I needed, but as I drove home that night, I realized proof wasn't enough. She had humiliated me in secret for months. Now it was time to return the favor, and I knew exactly how to do it. The plan came to me during a site inspection. I was reviewing security camera installations for a new commercial building, watching the contractor demonstrate how the wireless cameras could stream to multiple devices simultaneously. That's when it hit me. Melissa had betrayed me in private, but her judgment day would be public. I spent the next 2 weeks researching. Amazon became my weapon supplier. Wireless cameras small enough to stick anywhere, powerful enough to stream HD video, simple enough that even I could operate them. I ordered them to my office, tested them after hours, learned every feature. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent years building things, and now I was building the perfect trap. Creating the family group chat required finesse. Melissa's family was close-knit. Her parents, 2 sisters, brother, and several cousins all lived within an hour of us. I messaged them individually first, explaining I was planning a surprise 15th anniversary party for Melissa next month and needed everyone on the same page. The group chat was born. Melissa's surprise. I typed carefully. "Don't mention this to her. I'll be sharing updates and need everyone to keep notifications on. The big reveal will be coming soon." Her mother, Linda, responded with heart emojis. Her sister Kate said she couldn't wait. Her father, Tom, a man who'd treated me like a son since day one, replied that he was proud of me for being such a thoughtful husband. Each response twisted the knife deeper. Meanwhile, I played the perfect husband. I brought her flowers, just because. I suggested we try that new Italian place she'd been mentioning. When she said she was tired from her long day of painting, I rubbed her feet while we watched Netflix. She had no idea she was living on borrowed time. The legal preparation happened in parallel. I met with David Brennan, a divorce attorney recommended by a divorced colleague, at a coffee shop 2 towns over. Adultery doesn't affect asset division much in no-fault states, he explained, but documented evidence can impact alimony and show character issues if custody becomes relevant. We don't have kids, I told him. Then it's about protecting your assets and your reputation, he replied. Document everything. Keep evidence secure and backed up. I also opened a separate bank account, moved important documents to a safety deposit box, and mentally cataloged what was mine versus ours. The house was in both our names, but I'd made every payment. Her car was paid off, a gift for her birthday, 2 years ago. The furniture, the art, the life we'd built, everything would need to be divided, like splitting apart conjoined twins. The surveillance prep required multiple trips to Thomas's neighborhood. I learned his patterns. He worked from home Tuesdays and Thursdays, left his bedroom window cracked even in winter, had a perfect sight line from the street to his living room. I identified camera placement spots during evening jogs through his neighborhood, my hoodie up looking like any other fitness enthusiast. Testing was crucial. I mounted cameras around my own house, streaming to my phone while I adjusted angles and checked quality. The technology was remarkable. Crystal clear video, excellent audio, night vision capabilities I wouldn't need. I practiced until I could. Set up a camera in under 30 seconds. 5 days before execution, Melissa gave me the perfect opportunity. Sarah's having a rough time, she said over breakfast. I was thinking of doing a girls' night Friday. Maybe stay over at her place so we can drink wine and talk. That's thoughtful of you, I replied, butter not melting in my mouth. Sarah's lucky to have a friend like you. She smiled, reached across the table to squeeze my hand. You're the best for understanding, she said warmly. Some husbands would be jealous. When Melissa kissed me goodbye and said she was going to Sarah's for the evening, I smiled and told her to have fun. She had no idea she was walking into the most public humiliation of her life and that her entire family would have front-row seats. Friday arrived gray and drizzling, fitting weather for an execution. Melissa spent extra time getting ready, 40 minutes on hair and makeup for a girls' night. She packed an overnight bag with her new lingerie barely hidden under pajamas I'd bought her last Christmas. The kiss goodbye was perfunctory, her mind already elsewhere. Have fun with Sarah, I said casually. Tell her I hope things get better. I will, she replied distractedly. Don't wait up. I waited 15 minutes before following, my equipment bag ready in the truck. She drove the familiar route to Fairfield Heights, never checking her mirrors, never suspecting her husband was 3 cars behind. She parked in Thomas's driveway this time, getting careless or maybe just comfortable. I watched her knock, watched him answer in a silk robe like some cliché from a bad movie. The kiss in the doorway was passionate, her overnight bag forgotten, on his porch for several seconds. Once they were inside, I moved quickly. The rain was a gift, keeping neighbors indoors and muffling sound. The first camera went on his bedroom windowsill, the cracked window letting me position it perfectly. The second captured the living room through a gap in his blinds. Both connected to my phone immediately, showing empty rooms waiting for their actors. I returned to my truck and opened the family group chat. I typed, "Hey everyone, got something special to share with you all about Melissa. It's happening right now. Make sure you're somewhere you can watch a video. This is going to be unforgettable." The responses came quickly. Linda said she was excited. Kate was at home with her husband. Tom was in his workshop but had his phone ready. 14 family members and close friends, all waiting for what they thought would be a sweet anniversary surprise. Movement on my phone screen. Melissa and Thomas entered the bedroom, wine glasses in hand, laughing about something. She'd already lost her jacket. He was down to a t-shirt and boxers. They were comfortable, familiar, rehearsed in their dance. My finger hovered over the stream button. One tap would change everything. No going back, no undoing what was about to happen. I tapped. I typed quickly, "Going live in 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the show, everyone!" The stream began just as Thomas pulled Melissa close, his hands where mine used to go, her response eager and practiced. The chat exploded within seconds. Kate typed, "What the hell?" Linda messaged. "Daniel, what is this?" Tom wrote, "Turn this off now." Cousin Jennifer sent, "Oh my God." Aunt Marie asked, "Is this real?" But I didn't turn it off. I let them watch as their daughter, sister, niece laughed and moaned with another man. Let them see what I'd been blind to for months. The technical quality was perfect. 4K resolution betrayal, surround sound adultery. The best part came at minute 7. Melissa's phone, charging on Thomas's nightstand, began buzzing incessantly. She ignored it at first, too involved in her activities, but the buzzing intensified. 14 people simultaneously calling and texting. Thomas noticed first. "Your phone's going crazy," he said, pulling back slightly. "Ignore it," she gasped breathlessly. "It's probably just—" But she looked. I watched her face change in real time as she saw the notification preview. "Mom, what are you doing? We can see everything!" The scream was primal. She grabbed for her phone, naked and shaking, scrolling through dozens of messages as the reality crashed over her. Thomas was shouting, confused, trying to see her screen. "What's going on?" he demanded. She found the group chat, saw the live stream of herself, the angle, the clarity, the unmistakable reality that her entire family was watching her betray her marriage in high definition. "No, no, 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 no!" she screamed, spinning around, looking for the camera, finally spotting it on the windowsill. Thomas was cursing, scrambling for clothes, shouting about privacy and lawsuits. Melissa just collapsed, phone in hand, watching herself, on the screen as tears streamed down her face. The stream ran for 12 minutes total before Thomas knocked the camera down. 12 minutes that destroyed 14 years of carefully maintained deception. The group chat continued exploding. Family, members arguing, taking sides, expressing disgust, shock, sympathy for me. But Melissa's messages to me went unanswered. She texted frantically, "Daniel, please!" Then, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry," followed by, "Please answer me," and "It's not what you think." Then, "Please come home." Finally, "I need to explain," as I drove home. My phone buzzed with messages from her family, some angry, some supportive, all shocked. But the most important message was the silence from Melissa herself after that initial burst. She knew she had lost everything in one devastating moment, and there was no coming back from what everyone had witnessed. 6 months have passed since the night I made Melissa famous in the worst possible way. I'm sitting in my kitchen, the same kitchen where she used to cook chicken parmesan while hiding the scent of another man's cologne, drinking coffee from a mug she painted for my birthday 3 years ago. I kept it, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder that people can create beautiful things and still be capable of ugly choices. Melissa came home that night at 3 a.m., not to reconcile, we both knew that was impossible, but to beg. She was still in the clothes she'd hastily thrown on at Thomas's, her makeup streaked into a horror show mask. She alternated between sobbing apologies and angry accusations. "How could I?" she cried. "How dare I?" she demanded. "Didn't I understand it meant nothing?" she pleaded. 14 months of nothing? I asked calmly. 63 visits to his house that meant nothing? The precision of my knowledge broke her. She realized I'd known for weeks, maybe months, watching her lie to my face every single day. The violation she felt at being recorded paled against the violation I'd endured with every deception. The divorce was surgical. With video evidence of adultery witnessed by 14 people, her lawyer advised accepting my terms. No alimony despite her lack of income. The house stayed mine. I'd made every payment anyway. She kept her car, her art supplies, and half our savings. Clean, quick, finished in 4 months. The family fallout was nuclear. Tom, her father, didn't speak to her for 2 months. When he finally did, it was to tell her she'd broken his heart worse than her mother's. "You shamed our whole family," he said during that painful phone call. Linda tried to play peacemaker but couldn't hide her disgust. Kate took Melissa in but kicked her out after 3 weeks when her husband grew uncomfortable. The extended family split, some calling me a monster for the public humiliation, others saying Melissa got what she deserved. Thomas vanished immediately. His LinkedIn shows he relocated to Portland. He never contacted Melissa again after that night, wanting no part of the nuclear fallout. She'd lost her husband, her lover, and her reputation in 12 minutes of live stream. Melissa now lives in her childhood bedroom at age 36. She works part-time at a craft store, her art career destroyed by the scandal that went semi-viral in our small city. Someone had screen-recorded portions of the stream before Thomas knocked the camera down. It circulated enough that she became locally infamous, the woman whose husband exposed her affair to everyone she knew. Some mutual friends think I went too far. "You should have just confronted her," they say. Divorced quietly, maintained dignity, they argue. But they didn't lie awake for months wondering if they were going crazy. They didn't kiss someone goodbye each morning knowing that person was planning to betray them by afternoon. They didn't have their trust, that fundamental requirement of love, methodically destroyed day by day. I'm dating now. Nothing serious yet, but there's a woman from my gym who makes me laugh. I told her the whole story on our 3rd date, expecting her to run. Instead, she said with a wry smile, "Remind me never to piss you off," and ordered another drink. There's something healing about being with someone who knows your capacity for revenge and chooses you anyway. The house feels different now, lighter somehow, despite being half empty. I replaced our bedroom furniture and repainted the walls. The construction manager in me appreciates the metaphor. Sometimes you have to demolish completely before you can rebuild properly. Last week, I got a text from Melissa. "I think about that night every day. Not just what you did, but what I did to deserve it. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but I'm sorry." I didn't respond. There's nothing left to say. She created her own downfall with every lie, every deception, every time she came home to me smelling like another man and smiled like nothing was wrong. I just provided the stage and the audience. Some would say revenge is bitter, that it leaves you empty. But sitting here in my quiet kitchen, morning sun streaming through windows, she'll never look through again. I feel nothing but peace. The truth, even when it destroys, is always better than a perfect lie. Justice isn't always about what's fair. Sometimes it's about balance, returning the energy someone put into the world back to them, concentrated and refined. Melissa spent 14 months humiliating me in private. I spent 12 minutes returning the favor in public. The scales are balanced. The story is over. And I can finally build something new on ground that isn't shifting beneath my feet. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I knew my marriage was dying long before I found the proof. You feel it in your bones first, that shift in the air, the way conversations start feeling like negotiations between strangers. But admitting it meant facing a reality I wasn't ready for. So I buried the knowledge deep and kept pretending everything was normal. The unemployment hit me harder than I expected. 3 months after the layoffs at Morrison Tech, I was still sending out resumes and getting form rejection letters. Erin was supportive at first, telling me we'd figure it out together, that her salary at the marketing firm could carry us for a while. But support has a shelf life, and I watched it expire in slow motion. The changes started small. Erin stopped asking about my job interviews. When I'd update her on potential leads, she'd nod absently while scrolling through her phone. The eye contact disappeared first. During dinner conversations, she'd look past me or down at her plate. It was subtle enough that I could convince myself I was imagining it. Then came the phone. Erin had always been casual about her phone, leaving it on counters, asking me to check messages when she was driving. Suddenly, it was glued to her hand, screen down on surfaces, buzzing constantly with what she called work emergencies. When I asked about the increased hours, she'd get defensive. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," she'd say. "I'm carrying the financial load right now." The guilt was effective. I was the unemployed husband questioning his working wife's dedication, so I stopped asking. But I kept noticing. Erin started showering immediately when she came home from work. Not after dinner, not before bed, immediately. She'd walk through the door, barely acknowledge me, and head straight for the bathroom. When she emerged, she'd be different, more relaxed, like she'd washed away whatever had been bothering her. Her grooming habits changed, too. New perfume appeared on the dresser. She started getting her nails done every week instead of every month. The expensive salon visits that we couldn't really afford became non-negotiable expenses. When I mentioned the cost, she reminded me that she needed to look professional for work. "Besides," she said, "I'm the only one working right now." The knife twisted a little deeper each time. Our physical intimacy evaporated. When I'd reach for her in bed, she'd claim exhaustion. When I'd suggest weekend activities, she was too busy catching up on work projects. The woman who used to greet me with kisses started offering distracted waves from across the room. I began cataloging these changes like evidence in a case I didn't want to build. Late nights became more frequent. Working dinners with colleagues became weekly occurrences. Her explanations grew more elaborate and defensive when I'd ask simple questions about her day. The paranoia felt toxic, eating at me from the inside. I'd lie awake while she slept, analyzing every interaction, every excuse, every new behavior. Part of me hoped I was losing my mind, that unemployment depression was making me paranoid and suspicious of a wife who was simply stressed about supporting us. But the other part of me, the part that paid attention to details, knew better. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening in late September. Erin bounced through the door with an energy I hadn't seen in months. "I'm going on a girls' weekend," she announced, not asked. "Sarah's been planning this spa trip to the mountains for weeks. We leave Friday after work." Sarah, Erin's college friend who lived in Denver and rarely visited. Sarah, whom Erin hadn't mentioned in months. "That sounds expensive," I said carefully. "I need this, Mark. I've been under so much stress." Her tone carried a warning. Don't be the unemployed husband who denies his working wife a weekend away. But something in her eyes, the way she couldn't quite meet my gaze, made my stomach clench with recognition. This wasn't excitement about a spa weekend with girlfriends. This was anticipation of something else entirely. That night, as Erin packed with nervous energy, chattering about massages and hiking trails, I made a decision that would change everything. I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. I needed to know the truth, even if it destroyed me. Because living in limbo, questioning my sanity while watching my marriage die in real time, was destroying me already. The GPS tracker cost $47 on Amazon. Prime shipping, guaranteed delivery by Thursday afternoon, 12 hours before Erin's departure. As I clicked purchase, my hands trembled with the weight of crossing a line I couldn't uncross. Installing tracking software on my laptop felt like learning a foreign language. The instructions were simple enough. Create account, sync device, monitor location. But every click felt like a betrayal. Not of Erin, but of the man I used to be. The man who trusted blindly, who gave benefit of doubt, who believed in the sanctity of marriage vows. That man was naive. This man, the one downloading surveillance apps at 2 in the morning, was pragmatic. I practiced the installation on my own car first, familiarizing myself with the magnetic mount, testing the battery life, learning how to access the tracking interface. The device was smaller than I expected, about the size of a matchbook, designed to hide under wheel wells or bumpers. Technology had made betrayal easy to commit and equally easy to discover. Wednesday night, I barely slept. Erin lay beside me, breathing peacefully, completely unaware that her husband was planning to surveil her weekend activities. Part of me wanted to wake her, confront her with my suspicions, demand honesty, but confrontation without proof would give her the opportunity to craft better lies, to cover her tracks more carefully. If I was wrong, I'd apologize and seek counseling for my paranoid thoughts. If I was right, I needed evidence. Friday morning arrived with cruel normalcy. Erin hummed while making coffee, kissed my forehead goodbye, and promised to call when she reached the spa. Her overnight bag sat by the door, too large for a 2-day trip, packed with care that suggested more than casual weekend comfort. "Have fun," I said, the words tasting like ash. "I will. I really need this break." After her Acura disappeared down our street, I retrieved the tracker from my toolbox and walked outside. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was gardening, and I waved casually while heading toward the garage. Normal husband behavior. Nothing suspicious. Under Erin's wheel well, the magnetic mount clicked into place with satisfying finality. The LED light blinked green. Signal acquired, battery full, tracking active. My marriage was now under electronic surveillance. The waiting began. I tried to maintain normal routines. Breakfast, job search emails, phone calls about potential interviews. But my attention stayed fixed on the laptop screen showing Erin's location. She headed east on I-70 toward the mountains, exactly as expected for a spa weekend in Breckenridge. Then she stopped. The red dot representing my wife's location remained stationary for over an hour at a highway exit 30 miles from any spa resort. I zoomed in on the satellite view. A truck stop with a McDonald's and gas station. Bathroom break, I told myself. Grabbing lunch before the final push to the mountains. But the dot didn't move toward Breckenridge. It moved south, toward Colorado Springs. My stomach dropped as I watched her location shift to an upscale hotel district I recognized. The same area where Erin's company held annual retreats. The Broadmoor Resort Complex, where she'd attended conferences before, where she'd mentioned colleagues stayed during business trips. The red dot stopped at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort. I sat staring at the screen, watching my marriage officially die. This wasn't a girls' weekend. This was a romantic getaway with someone else. Someone who warranted the expensive hotel, the careful grooming, the nervous excitement I'd witnessed. The drive to Colorado Springs took me 90 minutes. 90 minutes to transform from suspicious husband to confirmed cuckold. I parked across the street from the hotel entrance and waited. Engine running, air conditioning battling the afternoon heat. At 4:30 p.m., I saw them. Erin emerged from the hotel lobby hand in hand with Ben Morrison. The same Ben Morrison from her office. The same Ben she'd complained about for months, calling him arrogant and overbearing. The same married Ben, with 2 young children whose photos she'd shown me from company picnics. They weren't acting like colleagues. Ben's arm wrapped around Erin's waist with familiar intimacy. She leaned into him naturally, comfortably, like they'd done this 1,000 times before. When he kissed her temple, she smiled with genuine happiness, the kind of smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. I grabbed my phone and started recording. They walked to a red BMW convertible, Ben's car, judging by how easily he found the keys. Erin climbed into the passenger seat with practiced grace, immediately reaching over to touch his arm as he started the engine. Their conversation looked animated, flirtatious, happy. I followed them to dinner at an expensive steakhouse, maintaining careful distance. Through the restaurant windows, I watched them share appetizers, lean across the table for intimate conversations, laugh at private jokes. Erin looked radiant in ways I hadn't seen in our own home for months. This wasn't a new affair. This was an established relationship, complete with comfortable routines and emotional intimacy. They had history, inside jokes, a rhythm that spoke of regular encounters. My wife was in love with another man. I drove home in numb silence, my phone full of photos and videos that would soon destroy multiple lives. The evidence was irrefutable, the betrayal complete. But instead of rage or heartbreak, I felt something unexpected. Clarity. The uncertainty was over. The paranoia was validated. The man I'd become through months of suspicion and doubt could finally stop questioning his sanity and start planning his response. Erin had made her choice. Now I would make mine. Monday morning, while Erin slept off her spa weekend, I sat in attorney Margaret Fleming's office reviewing my options. Fleming specialized in divorce law with a reputation for protecting men's assets in contested proceedings. Her initial consultation fee was $300 I couldn't afford, but considering what I stood to lose without proper representation, it was the best investment I'd ever made. Adultery affects divorce proceedings in Colorado, Fleming explained, reviewing the photos on my phone. We're not a pure no-fault state. Infidelity impacts asset division, especially when marital funds were used to support the affair. She outlined the process with clinical precision. Document everything. Protect assets before filing. Gather evidence of financial misconduct, hotel bills, restaurant charges, gifts purchased with joint accounts. Create an irrefutable case that would minimize my financial exposure and maximize Erin's consequences. Do you know if she's spent marital money on this relationship? Fleming asked. I thought about the expensive salon visits, the new clothes, the elaborate excuses for working dinners. Probably. How do I prove it? Bank records, credit card statements, receipts. You have legal access to joint accounts. Use it. That afternoon, while Erin worked late, or claimed to, I began my investigation in earnest. Our home computer contained 2 years of financial records. Credit card statements told the story of an affair funded by joint assets. Charges at expensive restaurants on evenings when Erin claimed to be working late, hotel bills that didn't correspond with business travel, purchases at Victoria's Secret that never appeared in our bedroom. The paper trail was damning. I opened a new checking account at a different bank, slowly transferring money from our joint savings. Not stealing. Protecting assets that would otherwise disappear in divorce proceedings. Fleming had been clear. In contested divorces, the spouse who moved first usually fared better. Changing passwords came next. Email accounts, social media profiles, financial platforms, anything Erin might use to monitor my activities or access joint resources. I documented every change with timestamps and screenshots, creating a record of asset protection rather than malicious interference. The most difficult part was maintaining normalcy at home. Erin returned from her girls' weekend glowing and relaxed, full of stories about spa treatments and hiking trails. She showed me photos on her phone, carefully curated images that supported her cover story. No Ben in sight, though I noticed her manicured nails and professional makeup suggesting preparation for photographs. Making sexy pictures for photograph? How was Sarah? I asked over dinner. Great. Stressed about work, but that's nothing new. The spa package was worth every penny. The lies came so easily. Erin looked me in the eye while describing fictional massages and imaginary conversations with a friend she'd never visited. Her performance was flawless, practiced, suggesting months of deception I'd been too trusting to notice. I spent evenings researching Ben Morrison while Erin watched television, oblivious to my activities. LinkedIn provided his professional background. Marketing director, married to Jennifer Morrison for 8 years, father to Emma and Jake Morrison, ages 6 and 4. His company profile showed recent promotions and salary increases, explaining his ability to afford expensive hotels and dinners. Facebook revealed more personal details. Family vacation photos, children's birthday parties, anniversary celebrations with Jennifer. Ben presented himself as a devoted family man, posting frequently about work-life balance and the importance of commitment. The hypocrisy was staggering. Jennifer Morrison's social media painted the picture of a stay-at-home mother devoted to her children. Her recent posts showed increasing signs of stress, complaints about Ben working late, concerns about their changed family dynamic, confusion about his decreased presence at home events. She was living the same reality I'd experienced, questioning her instincts, while her husband destroyed their marriage. By Thursday, I'd assembled a comprehensive dossier. Financial evidence of the affair, documentation of workplace policy violations, and proof of Ben's deception to his own family. The affair wasn't just personal betrayal. It was professional misconduct between supervisor and subordinate, creating liability for their employer. Fleming reviewed my evidence with approval. "This is thorough work. We can file whenever you're ready." But filing for divorce was only the beginning. Aaron and Ben had made choices that would hurt innocent people. Jennifer Morrison, their children, colleagues who trusted them professionally. Justice required consequences beyond legal proceedings. I researched their company's human resources policies. Relationships between supervisors and subordinates required disclosure and approval. Failure to report created grounds for termination, particularly when company resources were used to facilitate the relationship. Aaron's business trips, Ben's expense accounts, their use of company time and equipment to coordinate personal activities, all policy violations with career-ending implications. Jennifer Morrison deserved to know the truth about her marriage. Their children deserved a father who wasn't living a double life. Their employer deserved to know that senior staff were violating company policies and potentially creating legal liability. My transformation was complete. The trusting husband who'd given Aaron benefit of doubt no longer existed. In his place stood a man who understood that consequences required careful planning, that justice demanded strategic thinking, and that protecting innocent people sometimes meant destroying guilty ones. Aaron had chosen this path. Ben had enabled it. Now they would discover that choices have costs, and some prices are higher than they ever imagined. Aaron knew something was wrong the moment she tried to unlock the front door Friday evening and found the locks changed. I watched from the living room window as she fumbled with her keys, confusion transforming to frustration to growing alarm. When she finally rang the doorbell in her own home, the transformation was complete. I opened the door without emotion. No anger, no accusations, just clinical calm that immediately put her on edge. "Where the locks changed?" she demanded, pushing past me into the house. "Have a seat, Aaron. We need to talk." Something in my tone stopped her mid-stride. She turned, studying my face with the careful attention of someone who just realized the game had changed. "I know about Ben Morrison." The color drained from her face so quickly I thought she might faint. Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Denial was impossible when confronted with that level of certainty. I gestured toward the coffee table where I'd arranged the evidence like a prosecutor presenting a case. Photos from the hotel, bank statements highlighting suspicious charges, screenshots of text messages I'd recovered from our phone bills, the GPS tracker sitting like an accusation in the center. "Sit down," I repeated. She collapsed into the chair across from me, staring at the evidence of her betrayal spread out like a roadmap of deception. Her hands trembled as she reached for one of the photos. Her and Ben walking hand in hand outside the Cheyenne Mountain Resort. "Mark, I can explain," she stammered. "No explanations, just listen," I roared. I handed her a manila folder. Inside were divorce papers, filed that morning with the county courthouse. Petition for dissolution of marriage, citing adultery, with documented evidence of financial misconduct and marital asset misuse. Our joint accounts are frozen, pending court review. The house is in my name, purchased before our marriage. You have 30 days to remove your personal belongings. Aaron's professional composure cracked. "You can't just throw me out. This is my home, too." "Actually, I can. Check the property deed," I replied. She rifled through the papers with increasing desperation, looking for some angle, some technicality that might save her. But Fleming had been thorough. Every document was properly filed, every asset properly protected, every legal requirement satisfied. "What about my job?" Aaron's voice was barely a whisper. "Interesting question." I handed her another folder. "Ben's wife received copies of these photos this morning. Your Human Resources Department received documentation of policy violations this afternoon. Relationships between supervisors and subordinates require disclosure. Using company resources to facilitate personal relationships violates your employment contract." The second blow landed harder than the first. Aaron's face went ashen as she realized the scope of consequences I'd engineered. Not just personal destruction, but professional annihilation. "You've destroyed my career." "You destroyed your career. I just documented it," I replied. Her phone started buzzing. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails, piling up as news of her exposure spread through professional and personal networks. Ben trying to coordinate damage control, Jennifer Morrison demanding explanations, HR scheduling emergency meetings. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Long enough to protect myself," I replied. Erin cycled through the stages of someone whose world had just imploded. Denial gave way to bargaining as she tried to negotiate some settlement that might salvage her situation. When that failed, anger emerged. "You're destroying innocent people," she accused. "Ben's children don't deserve this." Ben's children deserved a father who honored his marriage vows. Jennifer deserved a husband who told the truth. Neither of them got what they deserved because you and Ben made selfish choices. "We fell in love," she whispered. "You had an affair. Love doesn't require deception," I replied. The conversation continued for another hour, but the outcome never changed. Erin's attempts at manipulation fell flat against documented evidence. Her promises of changed behavior meant nothing when trust had been systematically destroyed. Her threats of legal action seemed hollow when facing superior preparation. By evening, the broader consequences were manifesting. Ben called 17 times before Erin finally answered, their conversation a whispered argument about blame and damage control. Jennifer Morrison's attorney had already contacted Fleming about supporting evidence in her own divorce proceedings. The human resources investigation was expanding to include other employees who might have known about policy violations. Erin packed 2 suitcases that night, moving like someone in shock. The confident woman who'd lied so easily about spa weekends and girls' trips had been replaced by someone facing the complete destruction of life as she knew it. "I never meant to hurt you," she said as she loaded her car. "Yes, you did. You hurt me every day for months. You just never meant to get caught." She drove away without looking back, leaving behind a marriage that had died long before I'd found the proof. The house felt different. Not empty, but clean. Like an infection had been removed and healing could finally begin. My phone buzzed with a text from Fleming. HR confirmed both terminated effective immediately. Ben's wife filed for divorce this afternoon. Justice served. Justice. The word felt appropriate but incomplete. Consequences had been delivered, innocent people had been informed, and guilty parties were facing appropriate penalties. But justice was cold comfort when sitting alone in a house that used to feel like home. Still, as I looked at the evidence scattered across the coffee table, proof of months of systematic deception, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Control. Not over other people's choices, but over my own response to them. Erin and Ben had chosen betrayal. I had chosen consequence. The difference between victim and victor was often just a matter of preparation and resolve. 6 months after the locks were changed, I found myself sitting in the same coffee shop where Erin used to meet Ben for their business lunches. The irony wasn't lost on me. Claiming territory they'd once thought was secret, drinking coffee in a space that had facilitated their deception. The aftermath had unfolded exactly as Fleming predicted. Erin's attempts to contest the divorce had failed spectacularly when faced with documented evidence of adultery and financial misconduct. She'd moved back to Phoenix with her sister, unemployed and effectively blacklisted in Colorado marketing circles. Professional networks are small, and news of her termination had spread quickly. Ben's situation was equally devastating. Jennifer had been thorough in her own divorce proceedings, using my evidence to secure primary custody of Emma and Jake. His relationship with his children was limited to supervised visits, his reputation in professional circles destroyed by the HR investigation. The man, who'd posted constantly about work-life balance and commitment, had become a cautionary tale about the cost of hypocrisy. Their affair had survived exactly 3 weeks after exposure, before imploding under the weight of consequences neither had anticipated. Turns out that relationships built on deception and fantasy don't translate well to reality when both parties are unemployed, divorced, and facing social ostracism. I'd rebuilt systematically, approaching recovery with the same methodical precision I'd used for revenge. New job at a tech startup that valued my skills without the corporate politics that had cost me my previous position. New social circle of people who didn't know my story or treat me like a victim to be pitied. New routines that didn't revolve around monitoring someone else's deception. Dating again had been surprisingly challenging, not because of trust issues, I'd learned to read warning signs more carefully, but because of who I'd become through the process. The man who'd married Erin had been trusting to the point of naivety. This man was observant, careful, strategic in ways that sometimes surprised potential partners. "You're different than most guys I date," Sarah had said after our third dinner together. "You pay attention to details. You ask follow-up questions. It's like you're solving puzzles in your head." She wasn't wrong. Experience had taught me that people revealed themselves through inconsistencies, through the gaps between words and actions. I'd learned to listen for those gaps, to notice when stories didn't align, to trust my instincts when something felt wrong. Some might call it paranoid. I called it informed. The final piece of my investigation was destroyed on a Tuesday morning in March. 2 years of evidence, photos, documents, tracking records, financial statements, fed into an industrial shredder I'd rented for the day. Not from guilt about my actions, but from a desire to stop living in the shadow of someone else's betrayal. Watching those papers disappear felt like closing a chapter I'd never wanted to write. The man who'd assembled that evidence with such careful precision was still part of me, but he didn't need to be the whole of me. Erin had made her choices. I'd made mine. The consequences had played out exactly as designed, with justice served and innocent parties protected. But justice, I'd learned, was a cold companion compared to the possibility of genuine connection with someone capable of honesty. The question now wasn't whether I could trust again, it was whether I could find someone worth trusting. Someone whose words matched their actions, whose phone wasn't a fortress of secrets, whose affection wasn't rationed based on financial circumstances. Someone who understood that love, without honesty, wasn't love at all. The coffee shop hummed with ordinary conversations. Couples planning weekend trips that were actually weekend trips. People discussing work challenges that were actually about work. Normal interactions between people who'd chosen transparency over deception. I finished my coffee and walked out into the Colorado sunshine, leaving behind the shadows of surveillance and suspicion. The past had been documented, consequences delivered, and justice served. Now it was time to build something better than what I'd destroyed. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.